2004 ബാച്ചുകളിലായ സുധീർ ആക്സഞ്ചർ, CSC, വിപ്രോ, DBX ബാങ്ക് എന്നീ സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. കറന്റ് ഈസ് വർക്കിംഗ് ആസ് എ ഡേറ്റ മോഡലർ അറ്റ് ബാക്സ്റ്റർ ഹെൽത്ത് കെയർ. വയനാട് കാട്ടിക്കുളക്കാരൻ കൂടിയായ സുധീർ ബാംഗ്ലൂർ ചാപ്റ്ററിന്റെ ജോയിന്റ് സെക്രട്ടറി കൂടിയാണ്. കഴിഞ്ഞ 2 വർഷവും പ്രളയകാലത്ത് പ്രളയം തകർത്തവർക്ക് വേണ്ടി ബാംഗ്ലൂർ ചാപ്റ്റർ വയനാട്ടിൽ നടത്തിയ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾക്ക് വയനാടുകാരൻ എന്ന രീതിയിൽ തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹം നല്ലൊരു സഹകരണം നമുക്ക് നൽകുകയുണ്ടായി. അത് ഈ അവസരത്തിൽ ഞാൻ ഓർക്കുന്നു. It's my privilege to invite you for the session. Over to you, brother.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So, hope you are all doing good. So, I think my screen is visible to you, everyone.
Yeah. Visible. Can you click on this PPT? You just leave this option. On the PPT, click here. PPT.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's good, right?
Yeah. F5 full screen. Then we are good. All right. Go on.
Okay. So this is like the topic is machine learning. I think you are already aware of it, right? Like what is machine learning? Maybe like at least a high level understanding. So because it's like a kind of a most discussed topic as of now. So machine learning, AI, data science. So these are kind of mostly discussed topic nowadays. Even it has got a lot of practical applications in our day-to-day life. We'll be using it for even Amazon, Alexa, Google Assistant. So everywhere, like even for web search. So everywhere, machine learning and artificial intelligence is like peeping into the life. So that's what like we have just as an introduction. So it's like a vast topic. So as an introduction, probably like I will cover some basics of it. So basic what is machine learning and how the machine learning algorithms are working, and what are the career paths, basically what are the job responsibility and roles of a machine learning engineer or a data scientist or a data modeler, and how the data will be getting modeled and machines are learning. This is the agenda of this topic. So I think like let's have more kind of an interactive session. So if you have any questions, you can reach me out. So you can ask the question over the session itself. So whatever is possible, I will be able to answer. And if something which is, as it's like a wide topic, and whichever is not knowing to me, I can answer it later. So I think we can start it, right? Any questions before starting? If you how you want to proceed or something like that, or any suggestions, like you can let me know. So let me just start from the first slide. So this is just like a representation. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇത് മനസ്സിലാവുന്നുണ്ടാവില്ല. ഒരു ഇമേജ് ഉണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഈ പേജിൽ. സോ ലൈക്ക് എന്താണത്, ആ ഇമേജ് എന്താണ്, നമുക്ക് ഇതിനകത്ത് ഈ ഇമേജ് തന്നെ നമുക്കൊരു റിസൾട്ട് തരുന്നുണ്ട്. അതായത് അവസാനം വന്ന് നമുക്കത് ഒരു പട്ടിയാണ് ഒരു പൂച്ച നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ല ആദ്യം. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ അത് നോക്കി നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സിൽ നമ്മുടെ ന്യൂറോൺസും ഒക്കെ ആലോചിച്ചു എന്താണത്. നമ്മൾ ഓൾറെഡി നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സിൽ ഈ ഒരു പട്ടിയുടെയും പൂച്ചയുടെയും രൂപമുണ്ട്. ആ രൂപമായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ കമ്പയർ ചെയ്തു. അത് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്തതിനു ശേഷം വി ഗോട്ട് an output. So then we are saying that okay, it's a dog. So in technical terms, let's say that it is an image recognition process, right? So we are identifying this is a dog. So this is the process of identifying that particular object. So how we are identifying an object? So definitely there will be a lot of properties, right? Maybe in object-oriented programming, you will be understanding that concept of object and its properties. Let's say if you define an object, let's say if you define a car. So what are the properties of that object? Probably like car will have 4 tires, and it has got rubber tires, and it has got a wiper, it has got a headlight, it has got a windows, glass, mirrors. So it has a proper shape also, like kind of a box with 2 edges. like three boxes will be putting it together, so it will be forming a car. But like this like how you are identifying that that is a car. So if I'm seeing a car which is going on the road, how you will be saying that okay, this is a car. So if it's a truck, how you are saying that it's a truck, and if it's a train, how you are saying that it's a train. So this is basically a learning process. Like somebody, like when you're a kid, maybe a baby, it is like a gradual learning process. Somebody is telling that okay, this is, your parents are saying that okay, this is cat or this is car. So initial days, basically you will not be able to recognize it. Okay, so maybe if you see a cat, you will say that it's dog. And later point of time, if you see a dog, you will say cat. So നമ്മൾ പലതരം തെറ്റുകൾ നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കും നമ്മൾ കുട്ടിയാകുമ്പോൾ. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ട് നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ പഠിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. പിന്നെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും ഓക്കെ, ഇതാണ് പൂച്ച, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതാണ് പട്ടി, ഇതാണ് കാറ്, ഇതാണ് ബുക്ക്, ഇതാണ് കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ, ഇതാണ് മൊബൈൽ ഫോൺ. ഇതൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ നമ്മുടെ ലൈഫിൽ നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഗ്രാജുവലി നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കി വരുന്നത്. നമുക്ക് ഈ ഒരു പഠിപ്പിന് ഇതിന് നമുക്കൊരു ട്രെയിനിങ് എന്ന് പറയാം. ദിസ് പ്രോസസ് ഇസ് കോൾഡ് ട്രെയിനിങ്. So based on your training or understanding, you will be recognizing an object. Basically here, what you see here, this is a cat or dog. I'm not sure, but like basically the images which is stored in your neurons or your brain, you will be comparing it with the images what is storing in your neuron. You will be comparing the properties. Finally, based on the properties, you will be finding a best match. So which is very closer to the properties which is stored in your mind or in your brain. So there is a mapping. Basically, there will be an input layer. The neurons will be activated, and the output will be decided by the brain, saying that okay, this is dog. So when it comes to the machine, how a machine can do this? So like right now we have different things, different technologies growing faster. We have different technological improvements are happening daily basis. So our AI, machine learning, data science, this is like kind of an emerging area. So this AI, machine learning, and this data science area will be answer these kind of questions. How with a camera you can identify a dog. So with a camera, how you can identify this is a cat. So how you can identify, like let's say if you're uploading some image in your Facebook or your YouTube channel or whatever, like in your, let's just get another case. When we are submitting an exam application form, let's say there is a option to upload your image. Definitely, we will scan the passport size images, and that image will be uploading for the exam purpose. Then that will be printed on the whole ticket, and it will come to you. So let's assume that rather uploading your own image, you are uploading some other image. Let's say rather uploading my image, I am uploading something like a cat image I am uploading. So, but the program will not be able to understand that okay, you are uploaded a cat image. So now how it is happening? So now this process is happening like a manual process. Okay, they will be opening the application and they'll say that okay, this is the image. Okay, this is a human image and this is a cat image, and it will be say okay, this is what this image is wrong. So you are not a valid application, or the image which you uploaded is not correct. So this is a manual process. So let's assume you are writing a program. That program will be identifying that okay, this is identifying that this particular image is a dog image or a cat image or a human image. So this is called an image recognition process. So how these images are being recognized? So definitely in computers, everything will be stored in zeros and ones. So these will be compared against the images which is already, we can say that will be a historical data, we can say historical data or a training data, we can say. So that whatever the data which is stored, what is data is already available, will be comparing against the new image which you are uploading. So if the patterns are matching, if the patterns are right, so definitely you will be getting a match. So see here how it works in Google. So if you type Google dog there, so what Google search will happen in the same manner. So it will search large number of examples will be already stored, because if you are typing dog, definitely there will be a lot of dog images which is there in the Google training and their historical archival, and whatever the text you typing will be compared against the images what is there already, and the properties will be matching, and then finally we'll be getting an output saying that okay, these are which is like the relevant images for it. for dog. So this is basically comparing the pixels, comparing the patterns, comparing the colors. That is again based on the data. So all about what you can say that this is like a comparison process that will be the comparing whatever you are giving to the existing data, what is in the archive or what is in the history, and we can call it as a training or like a, training data set. So this comparison process will happen, keep on happening, and you will be getting a right result. So this is all about the kind of a high level like application, one of the applications which for your understanding purpose I'm saying. So now we'll come to the basics of what is machine learning and what are the definition of machine learning and like what are the different schools for the machine learning concept and like how it is like data science, how we can relate to our day-to-day applications, day-to-day life. So this is one of the best example I would say that just for your understanding purpose I'm just saying that. So now I'll just go to the kind of a definition by experts. So what is machine learning and that areas of expertise that people will say. So this Tom Mitchell is one of the veteran machine learning area, and he is a famous data scientist and a computer scientist. And you can see the definition what he mentioned here. Machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that allow computer programs to automatically improve through experience. So this is the major thing. So that is what even I was telling you before. Let's say first you are seeing a dog, you will not be able to understand that a kid will not be understand that okay this is a dog. So later point he will gradually trying to understand okay this is dog. Then at a point he tried to correctly understand this is dog, and he will tell a right results. So this is kind of an evaluation process. Basically, day by day, this will be evolving. This algorithm will be evolving to understand by itself, and automatically it will improve by itself, and it will be automatically improved through the experience. So normally human beings are improving through the experience. Let's say if I am familiar with a particular case, next time when I'm in the same problem, I'll be able to respond it better. So the same way, the programs or computer programs that will be able to respond or improve through the experience. So this area of learning, area of technology that will be dealing with these kind of algorithms, these kind of science will be, we can call it as machine learning or data science or AI. It's like you can see one more definition here. It's a field of artificial intelligence that is that the idea that a computer program can adapt to new data independently of human action. So that is like it will be adapting to the new data. If you are the same example what I said, it will be adapting to the new cases. So this is like again different definitions of machine learning. You can say that the field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So that is what. So let's take an example. Normally, if you write a let's say in the normally in I written first program I written in C is like hello world, and later point like we have started writing program like even number, road number. These kind of programs you think like this will be always do the same thing. So it will not be evolving through the experience, right? It will be always even number, road number classification program is small C program. It will always do this same task. So it will just if you see give 3 it will say that it's an odd number. If you give 2 it will give a even number. So that is a fixed thing, but this kind of program cannot evolve. It will not learn anything through experience. But let's say a machine learning program, machine learning algorithm that is able to learn by itself, and it will be predicting the result based on that. So this is what the computer gives computer's ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So this is the different definitions and even like evolving science. So there are different definitions of it. You can see that orange color definition, that is the atomic shell, given another definition on it. Let's provide modern definition. A computer program is used to learn from experience E with to some class of task T and performance measure P. If its performance task in T as measured P improves with the experience E. So it's like simple thing. I have already mentioned you. So if you're doing a task T and you will be getting an experience of E, right? If you are continue to do the task for another 2 or 3 years, what will get? You will get more experience. So if you're having more experience, definitely your performance will be better. So your output will be better. So this is what. So once here, let's say your algorithm is running with hundreds of records, let's say 100 GB of data, that will give some result. But if you are feeding the algorithm with few more data, like the amount of data which is feeding to the system, if is increasing, definitely the performance of the algorithm will be increasing. So definitely it will be able to do the right task with more precision. So we can say that this is the algorithm, algorithm improving for a task with the experience. So and its performance we can measure by P. So if you just see this particular slide, you can see that it's like a more formal machine learning definition. So E is representing experience, and T is task, and P is performance. So what is experience? So you can see here, I just mentioned here, this is like a kind of a definition, and well, the E and E into T equal to P. So nothing but like experience and the task always directly proportional to the performance. So if you have more experience on that particular task, definitely your performance will be better. So, so there is no such specific mathematical definition. They just given that large liberty to put it that proportionality theorem here, E into T equal to P. So if you see this diagram here, there is an experience and task definitely will be giving a performance. So what is experience? This is again, I already mentioned that experience is data. So from the data, from the information, you are getting the experience. So if somebody is teaching you that this is a dog, somebody is teaching you that this is a cat, somebody is teaching you that this is a car, somebody is telling multiple times. So gradually you will be understanding that this is a car. At the later point of time, if you see a vehicle which is going, so you are first identifying that this is a vehicle, then you will be classifying it to car. And if that is a vehicle, if it's a truck, you will be classifying that. So human by itself applying some algorithms. So I can say that experience is data. So let's say different like here you can see some different category, some prices, some price of an object, maybe let's say price of something. So the customer transactions, like if you want to predict the customer behavior of a banking customer, definitely customer transaction has to understand. So if you want to see something like of streaming data you have to analyze, basically you get click streaming data. So and the images, this is again the one of the example which I mentioned, the images, like based on the existing images, whatever the images which we have already seen, algorithm will be comparing the pixels, comparing the intensity. It will be predicting that okay, this is dog or cat. Then task. Task is basically, as I mentioned, there is the predicting things, predict prices, segment the customer. Like this customer is a good customer or bad customer, and how he is performing. So these kind of different things will be segmenting the customers. So you can see that categorize the images like this. The categorization is like, let's say I have 100 images. If it is given to the system, it will categorize it. These are dogs, cats, car, like that. The images will be classified. So this is the task of classifying it. So let's say if you are training your algorithm with 100 images, your position will be or your performance will be P. And if you are training the algorithm with 1,000 images, definitely your performance will be increased. That will be, let's say that it will be increased by 10%, 20%, or 30%. So this is like more you train algorithm of a machine learning algorithm, your performance or your output will be more accurate, and it will be keep on going. So here, like one example here, you mentioned that like it's a gaming. Gaming is one another major area of application. So as I mentioned here, like if machine is playing Go or chess, so whenever it is playing, like it will be gradually getting the experience. Based on that experience, it will give better precision, and it will do better moves. So that is like Go is again a kind of game that majorly Chinese people are using, and chess, you are aware, right? This is like again an example of artificial intelligence. So based on the existing data, based on the historical data, it can plan a better move. So this is the like high level definition of machine learning. So you have any questions? Like maybe I can answer. I don't know whether I'm going in a right pace or you want to do understand more or kind of any questions. Let's have a quick discussion. So is it whether I'm going with more like the pace is right or you can that also you can comment. So any questions on these definitions?
Yeah, I think
So
you can
can I
go
move
on.
on to the
I'll
next?
use the question later
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we
yeah.
queue session.
No, no, I'm saying that it is going in the right speed or it's or
Yeah,
something. If any questions, like we can, yeah. Is
yeah, yeah.
fine. It's like
Please,
old
please,
people are
please answer
like
it, please.
follow.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's move to problem. Okay, basically, whatever the definitions what we have done. So what we have discussed. So this is like a common thing, right? Like എനിക്കറിയുന്ന ഞാൻ എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇത് അറിയില്ല. നമ്മൾക്ക് സ്പാംസ് നമ്മുടെ ഇമെയിലിൽ കിട്ടും, ട്രാഷ് ഇമെയിലിൽ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമ്മുടെ മെയിലിൽ വരും. അപ്പോൾ how we can how a program will do, how a program will uh, uh, classify this into spam or not spam. So this is like a use case program. You can throw your thoughts on this. Like suppose your email program watches which email you do or do not mark as spam, and based on that learns how to better a filter spam. So what is the task in T in the setting? So what is the task T? So this is the definition. You can see that T is the task, P is the performance, and that will improve experience C. So here, if you have, there are items are there. So classifying emails as spam or not spam, watching you label emails as spam or not spam, the number or fraction of emails correctly classified as spam or not spam, none of the above. So what is your thought in this? So what is T? What is T here? What is P here? And what is E here? So out of these four items. So any idea on this? T, what is T, and what is C? So you want to answer, or should I go to the solution? I think I'll move on to the solution. So this is like a simple example. I just added one more slide so you can see that classifying emails as spam or not spam is the task. So that is like daily basis. Let's say if you take Gmail, classifying emails as spam or not spam is the daily task Gmail is doing. So it will give you in two different folders. One is normal inbox and another is spam folder. So this is like a continuous task, daily basis. This task will be doing classifying emails as spam or not spam. This is a T, and watching you label emails as spam or not spam. This is like the experience basically for in your mailbox. So if you have mailbox from past 5 years, so that is the experience, right? That will be goes on continuing that process. So the task T will be continuing this the email watching your label emails as spam or not spam. This is the gaining the experience. So the number fraction of emails correctly classified. So that is the correction. So the correctly classified spam or not spam is performance of that algorithm that definitely improve through experience. That definitely improve through the years of experience. Let's say once you start your mailbox, the classification or classifying it as spam or not spam may not be right. So over that, it will improve. So not only based on your your inbox, but also Google is using n number of parameters to classify spam or not spam. So there are like what are the attributes we can consider for this kind of calculations or classification. So we can say that these the variables which will be used, or the variables which will be considering for these kind of classifications, we can call it as features. These variables will be termed as features. So based on some features, based on some properties, based on some characteristics, this data will be segregated. Data will be moving to folder A, folder B, folder. So the decision factors, or the features of a specific data, based on that conditions or the features, these they'll be performing this task. So this is just for your understanding. I'm saying how it can be classified. The classification is based on some kind of features. So the features basically we will be defining. So the business will be defining, or based on our understanding, or based on our requirement, we will be defining what is features. So uh, so this is the overall how it can be done. So I think you got an high level idea of it, how it will be doing. So yeah. So now we have marked it as already we marked it what is T, what is E, and what is P. So you got a high level understanding that how the algorithm will be behaving, and also this is you can see here like there are two methods. There are two different approaches for doing these kind of machine learning algorithm. Like we have high level we can classify this. So one is like supervised learning, like how we can make a machine, how we can teach a machine. So there are different kind of learning methodologies or algorithms are available. So this is like one is like we can call it as supervised learning. That is another thing is that unsupervised learning. So there are two approaches, or two type of algorithms, or two type of learning methods are available. The methodologies are available. So one is supervised learning. So you can see that it's represented. I just represented with a simple graph what is supervised learning. So you can see here like there are blue circles and red cross marks. So you can think that okay, this is like the red colored ones are spams and the blue colored ones are normal emails. So we what this algorithm does, it will be classifying the input data into two categories. One is this blue colored one, and one is red colored one. And the red colored one will be calling it spam, or this one the blue color will be calling it as normal emails. So these x1, right? This is like one is in the x-axis and another is in the x2. X2 is in the y. It has been represented. So these we can call it as this one is a feature. So based on the condition, based on that characteristic, we are classifying it into blue and red. So these x1, these I already referred. This x1 is a feature. So or variable we can say. So let's you take another thing. So how this like maybe for an x1 value, you can put an x2 value, and that x2 value is higher than a particular checksum or something greater than that, it will be going as red, and if it is below that, it can be termed as blue. So basically, it's all about classifying into two groups. So uh, so it's another example. You're getting this number of emails. So basically, the algorithm will be checking for some kind of words like cheap. That is a word. If let's assume that the algorithm will be checking for a word cheap, and if that is there, it will be marked as spam and it will be non-spam. Then see, you can see this. This is the mechanism it will follow. So non-spam and spam will be classified the same. So if an email contains the word cheap, probability of being a spam. So you can see that. So this is again when you are classifying it as spam email and non-spam email, there will be again a probability of doing a right prediction. So that is what if email contains the word cheap and what is the probability of being spam. So maybe this correction this still this algorithm can predict only 80%. So again a spam which can be a spam which is really a spam, but that will be marked as a email or and it will be pushing to your email box. That also possible. We can say that that will be a false positive kind of. Even it's a spam, but still it will come to your email box. That also happens. So that kind of cases, that is what I'm saying, that this is a probability of classifying an email as spam or not spam. The probability is here is 80%. So during the period of experience, this 80% accuracy will increase and later it will go to 90% or 95%. So this is like the learning process. Gradually that works. You can see that this is one of the algorithm which will be using for this kind of classification. So this is one of the best algorithm for classification problems. So it will not be just doing with the word cheap. So I'm just saying that is one of the feature which is identified. The word which is equal to cheap will be a spam, and that doesn't have that word will be non-spam. So spelling mistake again, it can be spelling mistake will be another criteria. Missing title will be another criteria. The same way the algorithm will be checking for n number of features, and that will be deciding that whether this email is spam or not. And again the possibility of predicting a right results will be 80% or 90%. Maybe it is 30%, 40%. So that is what more you train the algorithm, you get more you get the right results. So that process itself called training process. So the training process, huge amount of data, and that is where comes the big data. Basically, I think that also you are aware of, like what is big data. Big data is kind of a variety of data, vast variety of data that comes from different data sources, and it has got different varieties and velocity of data from different data sources, and you'll be analyzing that data and going to your right results. So even millions of emails will be tracking to the algorithm, and it will be setting the expectation that these are the potential possible areas that can be a spam email, and that is not marked as a spam. So this is the condition, the correctness of the algorithm comes here basically. So another thing, so this is like you got it. Like this is again like I am telling about one of the machine learning areas, classification, classifying the emails as spam or not spam, classifying the vehicles into cars or buses, classifying the images to a human image or a animal image. So anything can be like there are a lot of even Amazon has applications, image classification applications are there. So that will be using for different kind of whether you have uploaded a right image, if you have uploaded a fake image, these kind of image recognition softwares are available. All of those are using these kind of machine algorithm kind of feature engineering techniques to predict that based on the patterns and the historical data. So now we'll go to another thing. So another thing, this is like we have discussed on the classification. Now I'll go to another thing. This is like a very common example. You can even available in the internet. Just for your understanding, I'm just putting this example here. So this is another application. So this is like a most discussed problem. Like it is like if you just search, you'll get this problem in the internet. So I'm just doing it again here. So if you see, this is the price of a house. So this is one of the example. But this house, this small house, price is $70,000. So and another house, like let's say this is 2,000 square feet, and this house will be like around 3,000 square feet, let's say, and that is like $1,600. Yeah, no, it's like 1.6. 160, it's almost double. Yeah, that is the price of this house. And there is I have another house that is like in between these two. Okay, so this is like a smaller house than this bigger one, and that is bigger than that 70,000 one. So how I can predict the price of this house? So this is another kind of a common problem. So they're like here these values we can call it as like a continuous variable, right? Normally it's a numerical value and is a continuous variable. 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, all these things, all the way it is 1,60,000 is a kind of a continuous variable, and it will go again up. So this price of this house, maybe the middle one, will be in between 70,000 and 1.16 is 1.6 lakh. So the price is in between these two. So how we can predict the price of that house? So is there any algorithms available, or is there any method we can predict this? So let's say we are working in a real estate company, and the real estate company will be getting the houses from different areas, and how they can predict it, they can at least evaluate the price of the house, uh, which is not, because the size of the may vary. We cannot say that it will be a fixed price. A lot of parameters that will be deciding the price of a house. To go further, so this is what we can say, that this is a small house and that value is $70,000, and the bigger house, the value is 1.6 lakh dollars. So here, this is the house which is coming in the middle, and see that other values, other data which is available. Like we have another house that is like here, that is the first dot. I think you will be able to see the pointer. That is the first house. This is here, and this is the five. These measures are in $50,000, and this is $70,000. And if it goes here, this is the value, 1.6 lakh, 1.6 lakh dollars. So here even we have data for, we can see the representation. This is another thing. So it will be like around 80, 90,000, and this is again 1, and this is close around 1.4, and this is costly around 1.6. So this is the relative prices, the data which is known to us. So for this thing, I know the value for whatever value. But let's say if something between these point number, the middle one, so this will be like, so the what is the best estimate for the price of a house? So I can see this. So this kind of problems, let's say we can address through kind of, this is called linear regression models. So I have already said that some kind of classification model, how the classification model will work. So this is basically for the continuous variables, like the values are keep on increasing or decreasing. So here there is a line that these are the points which is already available for us. So each value, this is like a non-value, which non-value to, that is the blue dots are non-value to us. So but red dots are unknown. So what we will do, let's say we will get all x values, that is the square feet of the houses, and the y values are the price of the houses. So it is been labeled. Okay, it is there. Like let's assume the small houses is 1,000 square feet and the value is 70,000, and the other houses, the all blue points values which we have. So then somebody is asking something in between these two, this two blue dots, how we can calculate that value. So we can have a linear regression model, and that will we can plot a line that will be like x and y axis, and that line will be intersecting at a point in y axis, and also that will be getting a red dot in the red dot here. That will be this is the best fitted line. We can call it this is the best fitted line for these points. All the blue points, we have the best fitted line. Best fitted line is that like basically the distance from this blue point to the graph, that which should be minimal. So you can see that is you can draw a line. That line will be minimal distance from the blue points. So that is the best fitted line for these points. So that best fitted line will give you a prediction. So that kind of predictive models will be addressing through linear regression algorithms. So here when we are let's assume the x-axis is the square feet and y-axis is the price. So for an unknown house that has got an additional feet, so that will be mapped into 1,000, 1.2, 1.2 lakhs. So this is the way it can be mapped. So what is the best estimate for the price of the house? 1,200 house. So that will be 1.2 lakhs. So this is is the predicted value, and the predicted value that will be mapping to that line, the square feet will be mapping to that line, and that point to the y-axis, there will be a corresponding point in the y-axis will give us the predicted value. This is a statistical model. It's basically it's a basics. I think you are already learning statistics in your semesters. So this is one of the model that will be giving us the prediction. So if we are writing an algorithm that will be able to address these kind of context, so you will be able to predict the price. So this is like one example which I'm saying. So if you go down, so yeah, see this. This is like a simple method. So see here, I have mentioned here. This is the x-axis and this is y-axis, and all the red dots are the value which is known to me. And if I have 500,000, 1,500, 2,000, everything, the values are in the x-axis. If I wanted to predict for 750 square feet, what is the rate? So I'll be putting a line. A line will be hitting this pink line here, and the corresponding y-axis will be calculated. Then that value is 150, and that is my predicted price. So these pink line will be best fitted line for these points. So this is a straight line. So normally linear regression will address the linear lines, normally straight lines, and that will be intersecting at a point in the y-axis for a particular slope. This is a slope, right? That also you are able to understand the slope concept of y equal to mx plus c. There is a mathematical formula, and that y is basically represented here. M is the slope, and c is a kind of a intercept. So this is basically pointing at this y-axis. So this is the way it can be predicted. So we can write linear regression models in Python or R. These kind of statistical tools, that statistical programming languages are available. So we can write these kind of programs in Python or R to predict these kind of values. The libraries are available. I'll be showing you that also in this discussion. So here you can see one more point basically. So I'm talking about the linear regression line. So normally every time this relationship between x and y will not be linear. It can be polynomial. There will be kind of polynomial relationship between non-linear relationship between x and y. So this is mostly the linear regression lines. This is what the housing price in this gray colored graph. This is like a straight line. So we can say that's a linear regression. The x and y are linearly dependent. So, but if you see here in this housing price prediction, this is what third. So here best fitted line is a curve. So this curve will be, again, it will not be a y equal to mx plus c. It's like a linear equation. There will be kind of non-linear polynomial of degree 2, degree 3, like that. These kind of different values. So I'm just saying the practical applications of the statistics or whatever math what you are studying, how it has been applying to the machine learning algorithm and machine learning models. So this is all about statistics and methods are applying here, and we'll be in the results. So this is all about the existing data. It's all about the existing data. Based on that, the lines or graphs will be plotting. Based on that, linear regression or other regression models will be applied, and the prices will be predicted. So this is another example. So you can see is one of the problem which I have mentioned here. You have a large inventory of identical items. You want to predict how many of these items will be sold over the next 3 months. This is again a business application, business case. So you have a large inventory of items. You wanted to predict how many of these items will be sold over the next 3 months. So, and that is like a continuous problem, like how many items will be selling next 3 months. That is like you have to predict the number of items will be selling. So that is a continuous problem. So you can say that this is like a regression problem. So that is what. So, and the second, you would like so individual customers account to each account hacked or compromised. So if you have a login ID and individual customer accounts, and each account decided if it has been hacked or compromised. So this is like a 2-stage. So you'll be classifying that particular case as hacked or compromised. So it's a classification problem. So this is one of the application. So application area. Just I have given a program, kind of a use case there. So I hope you're understanding that. Then again, like this is like a decision tree. This will be like a most common example again. Like normally you will be getting the suggestions, product suggestions, or buying suggestions. If you're buying something from Amazon, definitely you will be getting some kind of ad saying that this product is recommended for you, and again this product is recommended for you based on your browsing history. So this is kind of recommendation again will be based on your demographic information, whatever your age, your locality, your interest, and your browsing history. All these things will matter to decide giving a recommendation. This is like a decision tree. So if you, let's say, if you're downloading something from the Play Store, and based on your downloading pattern, definitely they will give you some kind of suggestions. These kind of recommendations are still working under like the prediction, the correctness will be around 40% or 30%, but still that kind of algorithms will be running, and it will give a kind of a high level recommendations, but it will not be again more than 50% correct. But even in still it is running with less than 40% of correctness, but still that will give the recommendation based on the decision tree. This is something like see, we can see this. You can see a kind of a pattern. This is age. So between gender and age, which seems to be the most decisive predicting WhatsApp will be used download. So this way they will be building a decision tree. So you can see this decision tree. This decision tree will give you that okay, for the age which is greater than less than 20 will be using Snapchat, and greater than 20, whether if you're a female it will be WhatsApp, and if it's male it is like another application. This is like a very much representative. So I'm just saying that how the recommendation is working in the machine learning model, and how this linear or classification models are using the decision tree in a web application, and how that kind of applications are using existing data, what is being feeding to the algorithm, how it will be giving you a right suggestion or a right classification by analyzing the existing or historical data and training their model. So so far whatever I explained will be like high level. You can classify like this. So it's this is a stepwise classification. Definitely the world is driving data. So definitely we should have data from multiple data sources. So the connecting right data source is one of the key things here. So if you want to predict the house of a housing prediction, you have to access right housing database, how the pattern of selling currently. So that has to be connected. And if you want to predict the buying pattern of a seller, buying pattern of a person, definitely if Amazon or whoever, it has to analyze the existing the shopping trend, and the existing how it is working currently. And the second thing is basically like if you want to do the customer segmentation, and you want to predict whether that particular customer will be belong to that particular group, how it can be done. You have to connect to the right data source. So that is the most important thing. That is what we are saying, that data is the oil. Data will be the next big thing in the world. Basically, that the world drives on data. So you should have right data, connect to the right data, get the right data. Then you have to extract the data from that respective data source. That is again based on your requirement. Then you have to structure that data. So you have to structure it accordingly, how you want to predict, or how you want to analyze, and what you want to analyze. So based on that, you have to structureize the data. Then I mentioned that feature engineering is the next thing. So you have to identify the variables that you want to predict. So here housing price is the variable you will be predicting, and based on what you are predicting, there will be different factors that will be affecting the housing price. Basically, it will be the square feet, will be the size of the house, that is basically the square feet, and the locality of the house will be another thing, and the area will be the another thing. Number of the connectivity will be another thing. So there are n number of parameters that will be affecting the housing price. So basically, that we can call each of this parameter will be called as feature, that I already mentioned that this is the factor which is classifying, or the parameters that will be deriving the prediction, the parameter that will be depending on the predicted value. That is a feature engineering. We can say that each of the parameter will be feature engineering. So let's say if you want to do a customer segmentation, majorly like you have to classify the customer as a good customer, bad customer, or however. Let's say if you take a bank, how you can classify the customer. So a person who is repaying on properly can consider as a good customer. A person who is not repaying the loan can classify as a bad customer. So what we have to do? So we have to basically take the customer data, we have to analyze that, we have to do the feature engineering on that, and you have to see the parameters, and you will be end up in a decision that these are the main features that will be impact repayment of the loan. So that features you have to extract and work on that features. Then you have to apply the linear regression or whatever models most fitted to that data and do the prediction. So this is the way to be. Then next thing is I'm saying, with the existing data, you have to train your model. More data you use for training, definitely you will get a more accurate, more your correctness will be increasing. So there are different measures and different methods to measure the correctness of the data. There are different terms we'll be using, and there are many algorithms are there, and there are factors in the statistics will be determining that okay, this is the right. Then you have to evaluate the model. This is the correctness of the evaluation. Let's say you are predicting that okay, your house is sold for will be selling for $3,000, and maybe it will be selling for another $2,800. So definitely that difference, that is the corrections, whatever your model, the prediction what you have done and what is the actual value, what is the difference. So that has to be evaluated. Then based on the evaluation, we have to deploy and serve the model. Then again, as I mentioned, that the results will be evaluation. This is like a continuous process. Again, we'll be connecting the data, extract the data, structure the data. We'll do the feature engineering. We'll be training the model, evaluate it whether it's a right or wrong. Then it will be deploying, and again we'll be evaluating results and how it will be, how far it is from the and predicted. These kind of model building operations will be happening for each cases. So that is that machine learning model for building and serving. This is all about that high level process. I don't know how much you got it, or my pace is right, or because is anything you want to explain more, I can do that. And another category, this category is mostly, I mentioned that this is like a supervised learning. So this is like we have input and we have output and we have historical data. So based on the current values, the prediction will happen. But in the unsupervised learning, what is happening is basically you are categorizing the entire thing into one or two groups. It will be calling a clustering. It will be grouping into multiple clusters. So you can see that social network analysis, market segmentation, astronomical data analysis, different kind of applications are there. So social network analysis, you can see these blue will be one category, this green will be another category, and the red will be another category. So this is just a category, but definitely there will be different features behind that each category. So based on the feature engineering, it has been decided that okay, this four people are belong to category A, another three will belong to category B, and another that green color one will be category C. So all about classifying the data by itself. So this is basically like the data, and it will be like the algorithm by itself will be doing the classification. So it will not be going with the label. Basically, what I mentioned that like we don't have any output directly with the historical data, but when it sees the data based on the distance or based on the parameters, it will be clustering the data. Yeah, this is like kind of an example of the machine learning, image recognition, statistical thing: medical diagnosis, prediction, speech recognition, classification. There are many examples of this. So also I can show you some example. So if you're interested, this is like a lot of lectures I've given, but if you want to see something, so one of the Python program. So you can see here. So how this kind of things are working. So how it's a kind of a normality test. These are different libraries which we'll be using. Then this normalities will be checking here. Then we'll be plotting the data. Then these kind of plots will be coming. So this red line is the most fitted line, and the blue lines existing data points. So let's say I have another thing, so I can map it. So based on that, these kind of algorithms will work. So maybe I can show you a few more things, but the time is not permitting. So multicollinearity. Yeah, another data set. See this, the loan amount, how it can be predicted. So this loan amount, the term, interest rate, different parameters. They're all we can call it as features. So based on that, we can see this data, and multiple we will do the regression analysis of this. Then there are these things are basically, as I mentioned, that the correctness of the algorithm will be checking with certain factors. So based on that, these kind of factors will be checking. So then if you go to some other few more examples. Yeah, these kind of graphs will be building. So this is like one of the things is that outlier detection. This outlier detection is basically one of the key component. Let's say we have data that is like in a normal range. Normally, whenever we are doing a prediction with the right amount of data, basically you can see that these is it just follows a particular pattern. This follows a particular pattern. But if you see something which is so easy, this is the kind of a pattern normally expect. So it increases based on the value. Like see this is a graph which is representing. So this is all depends on the median mode. These kind of different parameters are there. So I'm not able to cover everything in this particular short session. It was just an introduction. So I'm just showing you some graphs and all, like how it can be done. So how the data will be getting analyzed. So any questions or anything else? Like this is just an introduction. I don't know how it will be useful, like how far it is useful to you. So you can have some questions and close the things because it's already 5:30.
We have a sir.
Yeah.
We have a question
Yapari,
from
yapari.
we have a question in the chat box from Akshay KS. Can we minimize the amount of data for training? Akshay has asked.
ഡാറ്റ മിനിമൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാല് അത് നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. പക്ഷെ കൂടുതൽ എത്ര കൂടുതൽ ഡാറ്റ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നു അതിനനുസരിച്ചുള്ള റിസൾട്ട്സ് നമുക്ക് ആക്യുറസി ഉണ്ടാവും. അതാണ് ഇപ്പൊ എനിക്കിപ്പോ ഒരു 10 മില്യൺ റെക്കോർഡ്സ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആ 10 മില്യൺ റെക്കോർഡ്സിനെ നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ അതിൽ സ്പ്ലിറ്റ് ചെയ്യും. അതിനകത്ത് ഒരു പോർഷൻ നമ്മൾ ട്രെയിൻ ചെയ്യും. ആ ട്രെയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ അതിന്റെ ഔട്ട്പുട്ട് എന്താണെന്ന് നോക്കും. After that, we will use this data. So amount of data ഒരിക്കലും വളരെ കുറഞ്ഞിട്ടാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് റിസൾട്ട്സിന് ആക്യുറസി ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. So we'll always go for a good amount of data. I'm not saying that it's too much. Basically, we'll go with a good amount of data. Hello, is that answer your question?
Yeah, any more questions, please?
Yeah, I got a question. Python or R programming, which one would you suggest for a beginner? So this one, the question answer is Python or random or statistical Python or general purpose language on data processing it can be used for statistical programming, statistical analysis. So Python has good amount of libraries, and R also a good thing. That is more of a kind of a good statistical tool. But in industry aspects, like both are using. So what I would suggest, like both are good basically. So Python has a lot of libraries are available and most commonly used. Even R also using in industry verticals everywhere it is using. So I would suggest you you can either start with Python or R. Both will be good. Can we retrain a model which is low in accuracy but can increase it without restarting the whole training, but on the go? Can we retrain a model which is low in accuracy but can increase it without so could you just explain this question? I didn't clearly get it. So we can retrain model definitely. So maybe let's say normally model accuracy will be shared in terms of different parameters. Okay, so uh, different parameters. So based on that parameters, we can root mean square deviation, root mean square value, mean square value, like that. Different values are there. So based on that value, we can say the model accuracy. So if the accuracy is less, definitely we can go for a retrain. We can maybe we can do the feature engineering, then we can improve the accuracy of the model. So that can be done. So if I'm a beginner, Python or MATLAB, so because this is I'm not a right person to comment on MATLAB. So even MATLAB also good actually. So Python is basically a kind of a free open source, openly available. So I think better you can start with Python. So MATLAB, I'm not a right person to comment because I don't have any exposure to MATLAB. So I never use that. So I would suggest you start with R or Python for understanding these models. So does electrical engineering and machine learning have any connection? Last year there was a demand for electrical engineers who knows machine learning. Because this is an area where it is applicable to everywhere. So, but mostly there are two things, right? Basically, if you talk about the embedded system, so that intelligence is embedding to the machine, right? It will be adding to the machine, and that is a different level of programming. And the second thing is that as an application, basically data analysis, data analytics. This is another area. So there are two areas. Basically, there are two aspects of it. So there are definitely the application, but in electrical, mechanical, the applications are there everywhere. So basically, this analytics doesn't have an independent existence, right? It will be always connected to some of the industry aspects, because I work for a healthcare company, so we normally building the machines for different healthcare ICU machines. So definitely it's a mechanical industry. So definitely we process the data from these machines and giving insights to that, and we'll be predicting the failures predicting the alarms, predicting the worst case scenarios, so predicting the these kind of things are there. So definitely there are applications, and it is uh, applying everywhere. A trained model with a low amount of data, it will be less accurate. When then can model be to analysis? Yeah, ഈ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യന്റെ ആൻസർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഈ ലോ എമൗണ്ട് ഓഫ് ഡാറ്റയിൽ എപ്പോഴും ഇന്നാക്യുറേറ്റ് ആയിരിക്കും മോഡൽ. കാരണം എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ ഇപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് ഒരു നൂറ് റെക്കോർഡേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഈ 100 റെക്കോർഡ് സാലറി പ്രിഡിക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാണ്. എനിക്കൊരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഞാൻ പറയാം. സാലറി പ്രിഡിക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് റെക്കോർഡേ ഉള്ളൂ. 10 റെക്കോർഡ് ഉണ്ട്, ഏജ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ്, സാലറി. അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പൊ എനിക്ക് ആദ്യത്തെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് 5 കൊല്ലത്തെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ്, എൻ്റെ സാലറി 100, 10 കൊല്ലത്തെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് സാലറി 300, 15 കൊല്ലത്തെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് 400. ഇങ്ങനെ 3 റെക്കോർഡ് എൻ്റെ അടുത്തുള്ളൂ. അപ്പൊ എനിക്കിപ്പം 20 years എക്സ്പീരിയൻസിന്റെ സാലറി എനിക്ക് പ്രെഡിക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല വിത്ത് ദാറ്റ് 3 records. But let's have different permutations and combinations. Definitely the predictions will be better. So if we have more values, definitely the predictions will be better. What about partial differentiation? So this is like there are two things basically. If you are mostly in the industry aspects, right, you will be working on the application side. So these are basically core mathematics. So if you are good in core mathematics, definitely you can write new algorithms, new models, like new methodologies, new statistical, and you can write even. That is one thing. Second thing is that with existing algorithm you can implement in Python or R, that also there. But as a third level, basically you can use the existing algorithm which is available in R, Python, or the MATLAB or wherever, that can be used as an application. So that is up to the if you want to really wanted to build a new algorithm, definitely you wanted to be you should be good in mathematics, this partial differentiation or whatever, differentiation statistics, this probability theory, and standard deviation, collinearity, multicollinearity, different methods are ANOVA model. A lot of things are there, Pearson coefficient, like you are aware, right? Like statistics, like lot of topics. So in order to use that, if you don't want to build a new algorithm, definitely that level of understanding is not required. So if you just take an example in data structure, you are learning a lot of things, right? Tree, binary tree, list, stack, queue, everything, bubble sort, quick sort, heap sort, like that. But if you want to write another method of sorting, definitely you have to have a clarity or understanding on the mathematics. Then you can write a new algorithm. But if you can make use of heap sort, and you can write a program. So for that much of expertise is not required. So it's again the level of interest, or how deep you want to go. So that is the case here. Aslam, it's clear അല്ലേ? Any other questions? So I hope I'm not sure how much it was useful. So it was a trial. Basically, I thought of covering only the at a high level, so kind of an introduction. What is linear regression and what is machine learning basic algorithms? But maybe as it's like time doesn't permit to explain much, so I just covered here and there. I'm not sure about, again, it is highly structured or whether I have followed a right pattern, but I hope you got a high level understanding. Or yeah, I think few of the people are aware of these models, and they have the basics of it. So the people, I hope you got a high level idea. What is it? Yeah, if any feedback, let me know. Maybe if any other help is required, definitely you can reach me, Arjun, or
Sudhiparan, there is one more question.
Yeah, online course is basically, yeah. Now you have, right, a lot of portals are available, like Coursera. There are even YouTube itself. You'll get a lot of things. So a lot of materials are available. So even you can go to what I'll say that um, Python. Python website itself, you will get a lot of things, and also our website you will get a lot of things, and also in YouTube itself you will be getting a lot of materials. And if you go to Coursera or some kind of that kind of sites, right? Coursera, that also will be getting a number of resources. So now I think even if you search, you will get a lot of materials. So I am not sure about like how to suggest a specific course, but generally the materials are available. So maybe if required, I can share in the group some of the good courses which is available. I can share it. But few courses are like little expensive. Some kind of Great Lake, those kind of some of the vendors are providing some courses. That is like highly expensive. But for you to start with, I think you can go through it, like can go through and get a lot of materials. Maybe if some of the courses are required, I'll share it. I'll share the details.
All right, Sudhiparan. Then, if no much questions, we can wind it up. Over to Anu. Any other question? If not, over to you, Shabir sir, Anu.
Hi, Shamila. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sudhiparan.
Okay, thanks, Arjun. Thanks. Thank you all. Shamila, thanks. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
വയനാട്ടിലോട്ട് വന്നിരുന്നോ?
ഞാൻ വയനാട്ടിലുള്ള
ഓക്കെ.
എവിടെയുള്ള
We book feedback form in the chat box section. The attendees please to fill the form and let us know the topics you are interested in. And so on behalf of IEEE KCW, I express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Sudeep sir for this informative section. I would like to thank Mr. Shabir sir and KCW Alumni Association Bangalore chapter for giving us the opportunity to host the webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Thank you, Sudeep.
Thank you everyone.
Thanks. ശ്രീജിത്ത്, എന്തൊക്കെയാ വിശേഷം? എവിടെയാണോ? നാട്ടിലാണോ അതോ തൃശ്ശൂരാണോ? റെക്കോർഡിംഗ് ഓഫ് ചെയ്യൂ കേട്ടോ.
സാർ, ഞാൻ മറന്നു പോയിരുന്നു. ഓക്കെ ചെയ്യാം.
അപ്പൊ ശരി.